Hey guys, J-Man Seductions on the Jzone here with a video on just basically there's been this recent controversy with Fairy Tail, and some people are saying that saying different things about it. There was Sawyer's video when he was talking about a recent controversy with the chapter and how people are acting on forums and different places, and he despises Fairy Tail. There was Sasuke the Best Ones video where I think he actually likes the series, but he's really disappointed with what happened recently. I was about to call him Reborn. Before Jason was before Jason made a video talking about how Fairy Tail he thinks is decent, but it's not as good as Naruto and One Piece, because Fairy Tards are talking about how it's better. And also Uncle Main made a really great video just doing sort of an overview of what happened in Fairy Tail and how he thought it was a decent series at the start, and how he feels it could have had more it has potential, and he was waiting for it to get good. And this recent arc displayed a lot of great things, but it fell flat at the end. Now I'm going to add my little bit onto this. I do think Fairy Tail is a decent series, but I like it because it's really fun, and that's what I feel a lot of anime fans would forget why we watch it, is because if a series entertains you and it's fun, you're going to keep on watching it. It's one of those things, and that's how Fairy Tail is to me. And if you judge me for liking Fairy Tail because I think it's fun, I mean, I could say the same about a series you may think is fun. I'm not gonna like, I wouldn't defend it if I thought it was a bad series. That's why I'm saying it's a decent series, because there's certain things that Hiro Mashima does that I think are good. There's certain things I think he does that are bad, but that's where I am with Fairy Tail. But what I decided to do is mix this in with Bleach, because I recently wanted to make a sort of rant, a sort of video about how I dropped Bleach totally, pretty much. I mean, I may read it when it's in Shonen Jump, and maybe when the new stuff gets dubbed I may dabble into it for a bit, but apart from, like, as for the anime and new stuff that's going on, I totally dropped it. I wanted to make a rant video similar to what Larry of Otaku Assemble did with Naruto a while ago. But I thought I'm just going to decide to combine these two videos and do a comparison between Bleach and Fairy Tail. And I don't know, like, I've recorded this before and it came out pretty well, but the sound didn't record, and I had interruptions and loads of crap happened. And hopefully this is the one that gets uploaded, because I don't want to explain the whole story again. But anyway, yeah, let's go on to this. Start off with Fairy Tail. I'm going to give you a brief outline of the story. There's a girl called Lucy. Lucy wants to become a Fairy Tail mage. She meets Natsu, who is a Fairy Tail mage, and he has the powers of a Dragon Slayer, which you find out Dragon Slayers are these humans that were like brought up or raised or just trained by dragons, and they kind of gained the powers of the dragons. And Natsu wants to find his dragon, which is Ignil, because the dragons all disappeared simultaneously, like I can't remember, like a couple of years ago, I'll put it that way. And Bleach is about a story about supposedly Shinigamis, and the first episode starts off with Ichigo, normal high school kid, Rukia, who's a Shinigami, Soriba, whatever you want to call it. She's slaying hollows, these bad, evil spirit thingies, and she protects Ichigo and gets hurt. I don't know why he would protect Ichigo, he's a douchebag, but she does, and he gets her powers. And then it's just basically about Ichigo being a Shinigami, and he wants to protect his friends. And now, first off, I'm gonna just go off character development and state which one is the better series in terms of the character development. First off, character development in Bleach, there's a big problem. Why is it the series that has over 400 chapters, I don't know half of the characters' names? And I'm talking about the 13 Court Guard squads. There are so many characters in the 13 Court Guard squads that get neglected and have not shined once and have not showed anything. If we look at the 4 or 5 main characters, we look at Rukia. Rukia, I don't have any complaints about Rukia. I think Rukia's development is very good, because Rukia starts off as just a slum baby, slum child with Renji, and they grow, they get trained, and they become stronger. They go to the Academy for Soul Reapers, and Rukia gets an offer to be with the noble family, which is the Kuchiki. So she separates from him and Renji, and you see that dynamic of them two splitting up, and Renji had some feelings for Rukia. That is pretty cool as well. And you see Rukia develop a lot as when she's with Ichigo, I mean, she grows to like him a lot. And I like the development of Rukia and how she has to stay towards this. She has to act a lot like a noble person because of a nobleman, should I say, because of the fact that she's with the Kuchiki, but at the same time, her whole situation with Ichigo landed her in bad matters, and she has to get executed. But Rukia, I think, for her character development is great. Ichigo, however, no. Ichigo. What happens with Ichigo, which I don't like, is the Hollow's powers develop, but him as a character, he doesn't develop after the Soul Society. That just gets drafted, and it feels like the fillers develop him, but the actual main canon material just has him spewing out the same garbage about how he wants to protect his friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that there should be more to it than just that. And that's the only thing that comes off of his character, and him being emo and chasing after the next girl. Then we have Orihime, Orihime upsets me because Orihime, I really liked her character. She started off as this really ditzy female character who you thought would be useless, but she turns out she has really cool powers to heal people, and you find out there's more to that. It's not just healing. It's like she can reverse things, and you find out her powers are really, really useful. But all of a sudden, Kubo is like, you know what? I did this thing with a character. I'm going to forget what happened in the last page, and I'm going to change it and make it not a useful dynamic when it was a useful dynamic. So she becomes useless and becomes a damsel in distress, Princess Peach, a character, just the damsel in distress that nobody cares about because we've seen that character a million times, and that upsets me. Then we have Uryu. Uryu, I like his character because he was meant to be, at some point he was meant to be a rival. I mean, Ichigo has quite a few rivals for some reason, but he was meant to be a rival of Ichigo because he was a Quincy. Quincy were against the Shinigami, or Soul Reapers, whatever you want to call them. And he developed in the way of, I want to rival Ichigo and all of the Soul Reapers. But the thing is that happens when he saves, when he goes with them to the Soul Society, it kind of makes sense because they all grew a connection and a bond with Rukia. Then when they went to go save Orihime, it did sort of make sense because Orihime, that's their friend, but at the same time, it's like, he even says it, Uryu even says it himself. Uryu's dad, or someone in the series says it, I can't remember now because I'm trying to forget Bleach. But they state this, the Quincy are against the Soul Reapers. Why is Uryu helping the Soul Reapers? I mean, it's pretty obvious, yeah, they're friends, but you didn't develop on that, Kubo. You mainly mentioned that point, but you didn't go deeper into his character, explaining why he's doing these things when they're meant to be mortal enemies. You should have gone further into that character, but instead, no. All we get, sorry, I was checking something there. All we get is Orihime, Kurosaki gone. And then we got Chad. Chad was a cool, sort of strong, silent character. But Chad, I mean, he got a lot of development at the start with the Soul Society, and then he just got shafted, and apparently now he's with the Fullbringers because his arm was very, very interesting. A really interesting dynamic of the character that I don't think Kubo touched on enough. His arm, we didn't know what the power was or where it came from. We knew that him being around Ichigo affected him, same with Orihime, but we didn't know what it was, and that was something that could have been explored more, but it wasn't explored more. It's just, you don't know how to develop your characters, and you neglect a lot of characters. None of the characters are fully developed, but if I look at Fairy Tail, people bash and rag on Fairy Tail, but you know what? Natsu, I know what he's about. I know he's a simple guy. I know he just wants to fight. I know his motives. I want to learn more about the Dragon Slayers and the origins of the Dragon Slayers, and that is what pulls me a little bit towards Natsu, because Natsu, yeah, he's simple. I'm interested in the Dragon Slayers and the mythology behind it, where the dragons went. That makes me more interested in Natsu, even though he's shrouded by this very typical shonen simple mentality. He has that Dragon Slayer thing to him, which is a pull. And then we've got Lucy, who appeared to be the really ditzy supporting female lead, like I thought Orihime was, sort of. But Lucy, there's more to it than that. She went to Fairy Tail because she wanted to be free from her father, and her father wanted her to do certain things because he's a rich guy. He wanted to preordain her life, but Lucy wanted freedom, so she went to Fairy Tail and all that stuff. And that was pretty cool. I like that character development. Very simple, but it works very well. And then we had Gray. Gray, we found out that his sensei died, and that, I mean, we found out he wasn't the only pupil to his sensei. There was another guy. And there's like a conflict between him and the other pupil, and it's really cool because we see Gray say some of the stuff that he learned from his sensei to the other pupil, and it's kind of like it was really great development for Gray. I don't want to spoil it too much, but that arc with I forgot what it was called, but the thing that destroyed his sensei was Dedi Horror, whatever it was called. I mean, the way they pulled that off, I really did like the way they did it. It added more depth to Gray than him just being somewhat of a cold, I don't know how to put it, him being somewhat of a more serious, cold sort of character. It added a lot more to him. Urza's backstory spans through 3 arcs. There's a lot to it. We go from the Tower of Heaven to, I think that was what it was called, to the Erasing Seas, and then it goes all the way to the Anima arc, and it's all because her backstory is tied to one character called Jalal, and he's a recurring theme in the series. So Urza's backstory just stretched, and it was really, really interesting. I think that's the best character that Hero Machine has written. So looking at the character development, Fairy Tail's a decent series, but the main 4 characters, decent development. I like their development. I really like Urza's one, but compare that to Bleach, no. And Fairy Tail has less chapters than Bleach, and it's already done that. Next, moving on to story, plot, arcs, all of that stuff. Bleach. Why is it everything seems like it's on repeat? It seems like we're getting the same repeated story again and again and again. Damsel in distress. Ichigo wants to save them. Ichigo gets trained by a third party who apparently either doesn't like the enemies that he's facing, or just was strayed away from the enemies. He gets trained by them, they suddenly disappear, they come back, they're not as badass, as good as they were hyped up to be, and Ichigo wins with Gesuga Tencho, his only move. That's all you need to know. That's all the stories, because you know what I just described there was the Soul Society arc. The Soul Society arc had Aizen, and at the start Aizen was a great villain because we never saw that coming. He died and he came back. Great. So much surprise, so much shock. Everyone was just distraught. It was amazing. But when we saw it again with Waco Mondo, I was like, I've already seen this before. I've already seen the girl get captured. I've already seen you being trained by Urahara and Kisuke, but this time it was the Visors. And the Visors were hyped up to be something great, but Aizen just goes, swing, 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 you're dead. And they're all gone. Now we're just seeing it again with the Fullbringer arc, because Fullbringers, they trained Ichigo. They're going to disappear because apparently they're evil now. Someone's probably going to get captured. Ichigo's going to save them. And it's all going to be happy again. Gesuga Tencho is ended. That's Bleach. That's the story. There's no more, because there are side characters that are very interesting, like Hitsugaya. Very interesting character, child prodigy. He has a great amount of power. Very interesting character, but Kubo decides, I'm not going to develop him. I'm going to develop the relationship between Ichigo and Gesuga Tencho, and just him and the Hollow and all that crap. But Fairy Tail, so much more better, and this is a decent series, but I've said that quite a few times. Fairy Tail, diverse arcs. Fairy Tail, I like to say it's a sort of slap of life shonen because the arcs don't link to each other. It's just from arc to arc. There is this sort of side thing with, I want to find my dragon who raised me and trains me, which is pretty, I mean, it's not the best story point, but it's pretty cool because it leads you through these arcs, the arcs that don't really link to each other. They just go through and through. Apart from the Urza side story arcs, they kind of link together. But very diverse arcs, because you go from, one of the arcs was a internal conflict with Fairy Tail where you had the it was sort of like a civil war, because you had Lanxus and the Ryujin tribe, I think what they were called, which were him and just his crew versus all of Fairy Tail, and amazing. I love that arc. And then you had Phantom Lord arc, which were a rival guild just went and destroyed Fairy Tail, and then Fairy Tail has to go all out against them, and you've got to see Fairy Law. You have the Tower of Heaven arc where Natsu has, I mean, this is one of those sort of a rescue arc, should I say, where Natsu has to rescue Erza, but he doesn't rely too much on the rescue stuff, because you only see him do it. You see him do it twice, and one of the arcs was based around him rescuing someone, and the other one was just a small plot point. So very diverse arcs. The stories are very simple but very diverse. I like that. Fairy Tail one's there. Then we're just gonna go to the what should I cover next? Pacing. Pacing is highly favourable in Fairy Tail's thing, because Fairy Tail just goes straight to business, whereas Bleach, we get a lot of bullcrap like training for 7 months in terms of manga releases, you know, because it's weekly. Okay, since January, I can't remember, I think since January till now, Ichigo was training and training and training, and now he's just stopped the training, and he was training for something that he lost in one chapter. So yeah, Bleach, I mean, none of it makes sense. So I mean, Fairy Tail goes, in terms of pacing, yeah, Fairy Tail just wins. I mean, diversity in characters, Fairy Tail wins. I mean, Fairy Tail is a better series than Bleach. But these two series, I mean, there's more I could go into apart from what I covered, but I don't want to make this video way too long. I mean, setting I would even give to Fairy Tail as well, just the whole setting and world Hero Machine was created way. I mean, it wasn't as interesting as Bleach, initially how Bleach was, but it seems the settings in Bleach aren't used enough. I mean, he doesn't give us details enough about what's going on, because there's the whole thing with the Hellgate, which I'll get onto later. But just Fairy Tail's better. But what did I want to tackle now? I forgot. Actually, I might as well tackle that now. Yeah, what I was saying with the Hellgate. It seems that Kubo forgets things so simply. He forgets about little story elements. Remember episode 5, or I can't remember what chapter it was, where we see Orihime and her brother gets taken away, and he ges taken through Hell's Gate. That element and plot device is just, it disappears from Bleach, totally disappears. And this guy, King of Lightning, his video, shout out to him, really awesome video, he was talking about this. Missed opportunity, because you know what, the Bleach 4th movie, which is the Hell chapter, where they had a special episode tie-in, the special one-shot manga, that could have been a whole saga in Bleach, taking us away from the stupid rehashed bullcrap of someone getting taken away, Ichigo getting trained by a third party. It would have been totally different. But instead, you know what? I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do full bring. I'm going to sort of rip off Chakra in a way that full. Actually, I won't go that far. That's a bit of it. But still, full bring. It just seems like it was thrown in there because he forgot what to do. That Hell chapter thing could have been a whole entire saga. It would have been amazing. Imagine if that wasn't a movie and it was a whole entire saga. And another thing, he's so predictable. At least with Fairy Tail, you could say Hero Machine was predictable for a while, but like in the recent arc, I mean, the fact that Mest was one of the, he wasn't in Fairy Tail. Mest turned out to be one of the people from the Wizard Council. Just, I mean, he threw in things that weren't so predictable. He's been doing that more recently, even though it was stupid the way he ended that arc, but that was really, really cool. But we knew Ichigo was going to get back his powers. We knew that. And if you didn't, you're a stupid 5-year-old prepubescent prat, because everybody knew he was going to get his powers back. You're so predictable. I think Ziploc said this. This would have been such an amazing idea, but Kubo just doesn't have a brain, it seems. What Ziploc proposed, he said, Ichigo lost his powers, but we all know that his sisters, one of his sisters, I think her name is Cardin, and there's Cardin and Yuzu, I think it was. I don't even know their names because they're not highlighted either. She has the power to see ghosts, just like Ichigo. She's very similar to Ichigo. She has that power to see ghosts. What if she got Shinigami powers for a while, and maybe just for an arc, we saw Ichigo as a mentor to her, and her just doing stuff like doing these Shinigami jobs? It would have been cool. Ichigo could have eventually got his powers back, but just maybe for an arc, just seeing that. No one would have predicted that, and it would have been you probably would have brought in a lot of female readers seeing a female protagonist in a show or series that used to be male dominated. Seeing a female just do that, that would have been great. It would have been great, and it would have been interesting. I would have been shocked, because that's just a great idea to do. I'm not saying it had to be for the rest of the series, but seeing Ichigo as a mentor type character to his sister and seeing her do some things just for a while, it would have been really interesting. And like, what is Karin gonna do now? Apparently she has powers. What is she doing now? Anyway, but that's just bad. And the thing is, another thing I want to say about Bleach, at least with Fairy Tail, as I said, the ideas are very diverse. But I mean, the arcs don't repeat themselves. But with Bleach, it seems like the filler ideas are better than the canon ones. Because look, let's look at all of the filler arcs for Bleach. First one, the Bounce arc. The Bounce were discriminated and shunned and cast down by the Soul Reapers, and then suddenly, after years and years of waiting until they could finally strike back, a massive rebellion of them against the Bounce, and the Bounce had their own unique powers and stuff like that. Great arc. That could have been a great arc. It could have been a great canon arc. If you know what, if Kubo came up with it himself and he did it, that would have been great. Ideas like that would have been great. Then the next one. I mean, I know in the fillers they weren't. I mean, in the fillers they were actually decent arcs, but imagine if Kubo actually did them himself, and he did them well. Could have been amazing. Then we had, this was a great concept, cut to the Mug-Eye. Someone came in to replace Gin's spot, because you know Gin and Tozen went with Aizen. Someone went in, replaced his spot, and then you had this whole dynamic of the Bakuto, and you had a royal princess and all that stuff. And you got to see more of the Soul Society as well, because you saw that they're nobles and they're royal people in the Soul Society. You saw these weapons that actually rivaled the Zanpakuto. Seeing that sort of Trojan horse dynamic of, you have a captain that's coming in, but really he's got other intentions. He wants to overthrow the Soul Society from the inside out. That would have been that would have been such a great idea if Kubo did it himself instead of this rehashed stuff. And then another one that's really great, it reminds me of Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball GT had the dragons go against the Sea Warriors. That was like the last arc in Dragon Ball GT. This one, the Zanpakuto going up against the Shinigami. Great character development, because you had the whole thing with Pizza Guy fighting his one. That, even though that's not canon, it had a lot of great character development for Pizza Guy, one of my favourite characters. Same with the Cups in the Mug-Eye one. You could have gone a lot of great character development for Kira, because remember his captain, which was Gin, is getting replaced by someone new, and they did that. And these are just great ideas that Kubo could have come up with something different to just someone getting captured. I mean, I don't mind. The thing is, I don't mind the arcs that Kubo. How do I put this? The ideas for the arcs that Kubo did weren't totally bad. It was just the fact that maybe if he put these arcs in between the final war with Aizen, it would have made more sense. You would have had more room to develop characters, and it wouldn't have dragged out as much, because you wouldn't have had to do all of that character development in one spot in that war. It's just like it wasn't done right at all, and Aizen's overpowered in general. But I mean, all of the filler ideas are better than the canon. That's how you know a series is bad. Whereas Fairy Tail, the fillers are not as good as the canon material. Yeah, you can say the way the latest arc ended was bad, but at least most of that new arc was really good, really inventive. I mean, you wouldn't have guessed Hiroshima was capable of some of the stuff he did. Pretty cool, even though he ended it off well. So there's still hope for Hiroshima, but in terms of Tite Kubo, no, he spoiled it. I don't care about the Fullbring arc. I don't care if Ruki is back. I don't care if the Soul Society is back, because guess what? I don't know half of the characters' names. You fillers are better than the main canon story. He messed up two of my favourite characters, Hitsugaya and Shinji. The visors got hyped up to be so powerful, so cool. Aizen, done. You're done, son. And then Ichigo, final Gesuga, that didn't even make sense. You know what? The final Gesuga Tensho, if he was smart and he did actually make the Hell chapter an actual arc, if Ichigo lost his powers then, that would have been so much more better. I mean, I don't mind Aizen being the main and final villain, but the thing is with Aizen, he was an amazing villain at the start. We never saw that coming. Him just rising from, apparently he was dead, then rising from the shadows, being all badass. He was an amazing villain, but you made him overpowered. That's why no one likes Aizen. But he was a great villain. So much potential wasted. Whereas with Fairy Tail, I'm just like, you know what? I knew what I was getting myself into. Chilled story, arc to arc. There's a whole side thing with the Dragon Slayers which really interested me, and I knew what I was getting myself into. But this, no, just crap. That's why I dropped Bleach. That's why I think Fairy Tail's decent. Anyway, this has been J-Man Seductions on the Jzone. Live and learn, good luck and God bless. Bleach stars, get angry in the comments. Just comment like this. Fairy Tail fans, I mean, I think the series is decent. I think Hiroshima is doing his thing. He can do better. I want him to do better. And actually, no, before I leave, there's something I want to talk about. The problem with both of these mangas and the problem with both of these series is that the main characters haven't hit the wall. And hitting the wall is something I can describe as taking a loss or putting the character in a dire situation where you actually care for them. And I can describe it with Naruto. Naruto, all the time, you see him training, you see him have to overcome these problems. Like, at one point, he couldn't use the Rasen Shuriken because it would just mess up his chakra paths through his arm. And then there was a whole thing with Sage Mode where you have to overcome that as well. It always seems like each arc he had to overcome something mentally or physically, and he was learning something new. And I cared for the character because I saw him how hard he had to train to get to a place. And even in times where he did train hard and he tried his hardest, he lost Sasuke. He lost to Sasuke, but twice. And even in times like Naruto, this is what the thing with Kishimoto. I don't. Some people don't like the Nine-Tailed Fox, but I actually like it because, like, you feel like when he had to fight Orochimaru, Naruto felt that kind of regret for unleashing the Nine-Tailed Fox. You don't really see that with Ichigo. It wasn't used as a plot dynamic to make you feel for the character more. It was just used to develop him. It was used to develop his power. That's all it was. Actually, Luffy's a great example of the character where they hit the wall and they have to come up with something new or they lose. Because with Luffy, Crocodile, he lost him twice until the third time he found out what his weakness was and he was able to take him down. Again with Luffy, the CP9 Water 7 / arc, I'll call it the CP9 Saga. He had to learn Gear Second to overcome all of those obstacles of the CP9 and how strong they were. He was pushed to the limit, he was pushed to the edge. That's what we want to see. Like with Natsu, the reason why people don't like that recent chapter is because Natsu didn't lose. We want to see the character lose at some point. They can't be overly hacked. Again, Luffy, Marineford, amazing arc. Because you know what with Marineford? Luffy was out of his league. He was outclassed, outnumbered, everything. He saw his brother die right in front of his arms. Character deaths as well. Jiraiya dying for Naruto. Naruto, you got a scene with him sitting down at a bench with the popsicle or ice cream, whatever you want to call it. Him and Jiraiya always used to share that when he was alive. Just that mirroring, that emotion hasn't been struck in Bleach or Fairy Tail. I mean, Fairy Tail, there has been a few sad moments, but there hasn't really been any deaths. And it's a damn shame because moments like that are what separate a decent shonen from a great shonen. And even if look, let's think about it. Natsu hasn't lost that much apart from Guildarts. When Guildarts was this was in the recent arc. Guildarts said to him, you have to know when to retreat. You have to know when it's time, you're not strong enough and you have to retreat. That was the first time Natsu proper took a loss, and that was great. We didn't see, we should have saw more of that in the arc because he was really outnumbered and outclassed, but we didn't. Even in Blue Exorcist, pretty new series, the 13th episode, I felt Rin was in he couldn't do anything. Rin was at a point, they were fighting in the theme park, in the theme park, and Rin just felt like, oh my god, how am I going to beat these people? They're so much stronger than me. Rin would, in the first few episodes, you would just see him as soon as he pulled out his swords, he would take these people out with ease, but he was at a point where he took my sword. How am I gonna fight them? He beat me with my sword so easily, and it was great to see that. We haven't seen that enough with Ichigo and Natsu really. I mean, you could say at the start we've seen it once with Ichigo when it was with Byakuya, and that was cool, but like when Byakuya took him out with Renji, but like I mean there's no deaths in Bleach, nothing like that. It's horrible. We haven't seen these characters being pushed to the edge and pushed to the limit. Even with Shaman King, Volume 5 and 6, when he's fighting Faust, we learn a bit about Yo's backstory and how no one likes him. Everyone thought he was weird because he was a shaman. And Manta was like his first friend. And Manta, when he's fighting Faust, Manta was put in a position where he's in danger. So we saw Yo, very laid back character. We saw him out of his comfort zone. We saw him, he was just totally pissed because not only was he losing his friend, he was losing the match for him to advance in the Shaman tournament. Like, just seeing the character being pushed, we haven't seen that enough with Fairy Tail and Bleach. That's a problem with both of them. But Bleach, as I've displayed, Bleach, horrible series. Fairy Tail, I feel is decent. I feel it's not as serious as the other shonens. I feel it's just, enjoy the ride. That's what I like about Fairy Tail. Really fun. The etchiness and the over the top, like the boobs being shown all the time, it gets annoying, and the fan service in general. But I mean, I think it's a decent series. But Bleach, horrible, absolutely horrible. If you like Bleach, you shouldn't, because he wasted 6 months of canon material on training Ichigo for a power that he lost within a chapter, which is stupid. Anyway, I'm going to end this video now. J-Man's Productions on the Jzone. Live, learn, good luck, and God bless. Bleach Tars get angry. Fairy Tail, it's decent. Peace.